everybody! Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited that you're all here. I'm so excited to be here. Woo! Okay. Here. So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Elena. I go by Miss Fender on YouTube with 2 R's. I talk about positive psychology, mental health, mindfulness, self-compassion, a lot on my channel. And so that's one of the reasons I was so excited to put this panel together. I've recently completed my teacher training as a mindful self-compassion teacher. I graduated with a psychology degree. So I think that what we're about to talk about today is so important, and so I'm just really glad that you're all here to share with us. If we could go down the line, would everyone introduce yourself, say a little bit about your channel? That would be great.
Yeah, hi, my name is Anastasia Louise, and my channel is just all about self-expression and my past and current struggles and lessons in life. And I branch out and talk about, social anxiety, body image, and everything in between. So yeah, it's basically just my journal, and it's really fun. So that's my channel.
Hello, my name is Dodie. I have 2 channels. I make music on one of them and I write songs about relationships, but also mental health, just anything that my brain is focused on. And then I have another channel which is more sporty and casual, and I do fun things and silly things with my friends, and then I talk about my brain, blah blah blah. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley. I also have 2 channels. My main channel is focused on LGBT visibility, advocacy, and representation. And my second channel is super messy. It's shot on a webcam, and I talk about all kinds of things. And on that channel, I talk a lot about mental health, self-compassion, and mindfulness.
Hello, my name is Scott. I have one channel called Depression to Expression. That's really what the channel is all about. Mostly talk about depression and anxiety, tips and tricks, how to kind of overcome those dirty symptoms that a lot of us face on the day-to-day. I suffer from depression and anxiety, and it's basically like a journal. Just daily vlogs, again, tips and tricks, having fun, adding a bit of humor along the way, because it adds that lightness to very serious topics, right? So, that is moi. I'm also Canadian.
So just quickly, I want to say that if any of you don't know any of these channels that have just been talked about, put it in your phone right now. Like, these are all absolutely incredible people. Their channels are amazing, and that's why I asked for all to be on this panel. I think the work they do is really important and beautifully done. Seriously, put them in your phones now. You can take out your phones, I won't be offended. So the format of this panel is actually going to be a little bit different than you're probably used to. I'm going to get up and give a little bit of a talk about mindfulness and self-compassion, just so that we're all kind of on the same page. Oh, I thought that was you. Then we're going to get into a discussion with everybody about our experiences. Afterward, we're actually going to do a little bit of an exercise that's going to require some audience participation, but don't be afraid. It's really simple. She's ready. And then after that, we're going to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, just save them to the end. We're also going to ask or answer some questions from Twitter. So use the hashtag MindfulVidCon if you're not comfortable speaking in front of everybody, or if you have a question that you're not comfortable sharing with your identity, then just tweet it with the hashtag MindfulVidCon. We're going to answer some of those too. Okay? Okay.
I'm excited. Okay.
Me too. Now I'm getting up here to the podium. So, like I said, my name is Elena. I'm a mindful self-compassion teacher. This is what I do. I love giving these talks. I think it's so important. Can everybody hear me? Thumbs up, feedback. Okay, so mindfulness and self-compassion are wonderful tools, and they're wonderful for a variety of different things. They're good for anxiety, depression, stress regulation, disordered eating and body image acceptance. They help with insomnia, PTSD, as well as just improving relationships in general. And these are all empirically backed findings. This has all been scientifically studied. Mindfulness and self-compassion are huge in the literature right now. This is not just me talking about some hippie thing that I found at a festival one year. Like, this has been studied extensively. My favorite study that I like to talk about was done by two men named Davidson and Kabat-Zinn. And this study is absolutely incredible because not only did they find that after practicing mindfulness for 8 weeks, participants in their study reported decreased anxiety, they also saw increased left brain activity. So they actually looked at the brains of these people. The left part of your brain is associated with positive emotions like happiness, positivity, acceptance, those kinds of things. And the left side or the right side of your brain is associated with things like anger, fear, the more negative emotions. The participants reported that they felt happier, and they reported that they felt less anxiety, but it actually showed in the patterns in their brains, which is incredible. Not only that, they had a control group in this study, which means that there was a group of people who did not practice mindfulness for 8 weeks, and they tested them against each other to see if there were any differences. At the end of the 8 weeks, they gave all these people an influenza shot, so a flu vaccine. The people who had studied mindfulness for 8 weeks actually had an increased immune system response. So not only did their mental health improve, not only did their attitude and their feeling improve, their physical body reacted to this practice, which is absolutely incredible. But most importantly, mindfulness and self-compassion increase life satisfaction overall. So these aren't just practices for people who are struggling. They're not just for when times are hard. They're for everybody, and they're for all times. So mindfulness, what is it? What am I talking about? Who here has heard of mindfulness before and has an idea of what it is? Okay, who has no idea? Not a clue. Awesome, that's perfect too. Mindfulness, essentially, is about paying attention to the present moment, right? So it's like, seize the moment, carpe diem, feel the... This is a quote by John Kabat-Zinn, the same man whose study I talked about earlier. And he says, mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And I love this graphic, because it's asking you, mindful of the past, full of the future, full of all these things that are happening now, or mindful of the present moment. I want to break that down a little bit. So on purpose, this is attentive attention, purposeful awareness. I know that sounds redundant, because you're thinking, well, when I'm doing something, I'm paying attention to it, otherwise, how could I do it? It's not true. Have you ever been in the shower, and you think to yourself, wait a minute, have I washed my hair already? Have I already shampooed? Did I brush my teeth this morning? Did I start the kettle for my coffee? You can't remember, because you were doing these things, but you weren't paying attention. And so, the purposeful awareness is important because you're choosing to pay attention to something, whether it's your breath, whether it's a piece of music, whether it's your coffee in the morning, whatever it is, you're paying attention on purpose, for one. In the present moment. So not the past, not the future, but the present. And this is huge for depression and anxiety, people who suffer with these. A lot of anxiety and a lot of depression stems from something called rumination. And this is thinking about the past, or thinking about the future. Worrying about something that happened yesterday, worrying about something that happened 5 years ago, that dumb thing you said to this guy you like, or worrying about what might happen tomorrow, the test you have on Friday. Anxiety and depression, and essentially stress, don't exist in this moment. Right now, all of us are okay. Right? And so grounding yourself back into the present moment is hugely helpful. Panic attacks, anxiety, all the things I listed before. And it's also important because we're missing it. We're missing this moment because we're so busy remembering. We're so busy worrying. We're missing what's happening now. And that's all that we have. We only have now. And non-judgmental. So this is observing our judgments, observing our reactions, our emotions, and not just reacting to them, not being caught up in them. So this is essentially saying that mindfulness is for all moments, not just good moments. Yeah, enjoying your coffee is wonderful, but you can also be mindful in the bad times. So compassion, the next part that we talk about. There's a bunch of different self-compassion and fears of compassion. So self-compassion is the one that we're going to focus on today. But people actually have a lot of fears of compassion, especially here in the West. We're taught that compassion is weak. We're taught that receiving compassion, giving compassion is a weakness. So self-compassion can be particularly difficult, even though it's really simple. It's so simple, but it's not easy. It takes practice, and that's nobody's fault. It's just the way that we're raised by society. There's 3 pieces of self-compassion. Kindness toward the self, common humanity, and mindfulness. Self-compassion, so self-kindness. This is the key of self-compassion. It's the simplest part, but it's also the part that I think speaks volumes. And this is essentially treating yourself as you would treat a friend. So I'd like to ask you all just for a moment. Imagine that somebody that you love, somebody close to you, has failed a test. Okay, this was a really important test to them. They failed it. What do you say to them? What do you say to this person when they come to you sobbing, broken, that they failed? Let's just picture it for a second. Now imagine that you failed the test. You failed a test so important to you. What do you say to yourself? Why are they so different? Did anybody notice a bit of a discrepancy? Raise your hands. That's not cool. Why? If anybody talked to us the way that we talk to ourselves, they would not be in our life anymore. If we spoke to anybody else the way that we speak to ourselves, nobody would want to be around us. So why do we let ourselves say these awful, horrible things? Your friend fails, you say, you'll do better next time. You've got stuff going on at home. I know you're smart, I believe in you. When you fail, it's not, oh, well, you're stupid. It's because you are a failure. You'll never do anything great. That's not helpful. Self-compassion asks us to speak to ourselves the way that we would speak to a friend. To give ourselves the same love and support and motivation that we give to a friend. To have it come from a place of caring. A place of, you should exercise because I love your body and I want it to be healthy. Not a place of, you should exercise because you're fat and I want to change you. Right? And again, this has been scientifically studied. This is empirical stuff. They've looked at different forms of motivation. Self-compassion, having it come from a place of love, is the most effective. Common humanity, simple. Recognizing that we're all human. We're all in it together. Every single person suffers. Every single person goes through hard times. And every single person wants to be happy. Every single person wants to be safe. That's all we all want. And recognizing our similarities rather than our differences is a huge part of self-compassion. And finally, mindfulness. So like I talked about, mindfulness, noticing the present moment, paying attention. We can't offer ourselves love, we can't offer ourselves support if we don't know that we're suffering. We're so busy, we're so go, fix it, something's wrong, let's fix it. We don't take a second to go, ow, that hurts. I need a minute, wow, that's sitting heavy for me. And secondly, holding it in balance. So this is, some people think self-compassion is a pity party, right? Oh, well, if I give myself love, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to be lazy. It's pitiful. No, the mindfulness piece is about recognizing it in balance, right? So good things happen, bad things happen, and they're just happening. That's all that it is. So the 2 questions that you can ask yourself to kind of remember all this. Mindfulness asks, what am I experiencing right now? And self-compassion asks, what do I need? And it's so simple. You can ask yourself those questions over and over again in every moment. What am I experiencing right now? Do I need anything? And these are some of my favorite exercises, but we'll get to that in a bit. That's my little piece, so that now we kind of all have a feeling or an understanding of mindfulness and self-compassion. So thank you for listening to that.
like loads of notes. I'm just gonna fold it up and keep it in and just like remember it, take it out all the times. I hope you got something from that because that was incredible.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to get to the discussion. So to start off, I would love if each of you would talk a little bit, if you're comfortable, about your own experiences with mental health. If you'd like to talk about kind of how you came into mindfulness and self-compassion or positive psychology at all, that would also be great.
So I've had a past with eating disorders and body image. I've literally within a year I was below 75 pounds and then I was over 200 pounds. And after a while, it was like, I need to do something about this. And I've always had anxiety and I've always been, depressed. And one day I just came across meditation and breath exercises and all of that stuff, and that helped me a lot. And I just stuck with it. And it's been amazing because it's a whole journey and I've been documenting it all, and it's been helping a lot. So it's something I'll practice probably, I know for the rest of my life. So it's a long-lasting journey. It never ends. So it's important.
I don't know what you were saying in that presentation about how depression can be triggered by thinking about the past too much or overthinking about the future. My depression definitely stems from nostalgia and just absolutely being obsessed and focused and dwelling on the past and like my teenage years. My whole world is just like drawn to that, and it's so dangerous. And at first I thought it was, just being a nostalgic human being. I made a few videos on it on my channel. I was like crying because I met my old best friend and blah blah blah. And I didn't really recognize that until a few years went by and I realized that I wasn't getting any happier because everything was just looking behind. And then I shared a room with you guys, Elena and Hannah. And we all had a little chat. I was feeling really down that day. I was at VidCon, just wondering why I wasn't feeling happy because everything is so exciting and incredible. Why am I not feeling so great right now? I should be on top of the world, like I was when I was a teenager. And everyone was talking about mindfulness and how it helped. And I just broke down. I just burst into tears and I was like, I feel so upset right now. I'm so depressed. What is this? Can this help me? So thank you. I found through my friend Lex, who made a video about this app called Calm, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I've been doing 10 minutes of meditation every day. I went on tour, so that gave me a lot of time to use the app in the tour and just sort of like feel myself. I use it whenever I travel, because if you say you're really busy, and I am so busy, I don't have time. Just use it whenever you're traveling or like going from one place to the next. And it's just been so helpful to recognize that the past is gone, and that's fine. You can treat it as a nice memory. The future hasn't happened yet, that doesn't exist. The only moment that matters and exists right now is this one. So you have to ground yourself and really appreciate and notice everything. And if you train your brain into doing that, then hopefully it will stick with it.
So I got really excited when you mentioned that chat, because that chat was like really impactful for me. It was last VidCon that we had that chat, and I'd been seeing a therapist for a little while, and she had mentioned mindfulness. And I was a little skeptical about it, because like Elena mentioned in her chat, it sounded a little too good to be true, and a little hippy-dippy, and I just didn't know if anybody else was talking about it, or using it, or utilizing it, but I started to use it. It was really helping me live in the present. So it was so validating when we had that really meaningful chat, all of us, and we were all like, I've heard about mindfulness, I'm interested in mindfulness. And like, cool, this isn't like a weird hippy-dippy thing my therapist wants me to do, it's a real thing. But yeah, basically my story is
Ashley.
What?
Sit in your feelings.
No, that's on my list of notes. I need to work on that. Basically my story is essentially 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with anxiety and major depression. And I feel like that was like my official diagnosis date, but I feel like I've struggled with those things my entire life. I was just too scared to reach out. But 2.5 years ago, I was at a crossroads in my life. I was starting a new job that I wasn't sure if I liked. I moved across the country away from my friends. I was at the end of a really long-term 4-year serious breakup. So it was essentially just like quarter-life crisis meets horrendous breakup. Ashley, you should talk to somebody. And so I knew that I needed to reach out for help because it was the biggest depressive episode I'd ever experienced. And so I did. So I went to my doctor and we talked a little bit about medicine and I got on antidepressants and that was fantastic. And then my doctor mentioned therapy. And then I started seeing therapists. And she talks a lot about mindfulness and self-compassion. And ever since I've implemented those concepts in my life, it has really allowed me to be way more gentle on myself. And that's brought me a lot of peace.
So I think about 8 years ago, the official diagnosis was put upon me at university. It was my first year, and all these changes happen first year university. You move away from home. I had a broken leg. All new people, blah blah blah. So I was put on medication, and once I got my head above water, and I was actually eating again, and actually could get out of my room. I'm the type of person that wants to be productive and kick life in the ass. So I'm like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of this thing. I'm gonna do this 100%. I'm gonna beat depression. And I started reading all these books. Eckhart Tolle, I'm sure a lot of people know about him. Anyways, mindfulness came up and completely changed my life. So I've been practicing mindfulness and meditating just every day. Something like Dodie, like 10, 20 minutes a day. That's all it takes. And just to be mindful just makes all the world of difference. Starting your day like that, being aware of the breath. One awesome trick, and I'll just take 2 seconds to explain. If your thoughts are just racing nonstop, you can't stop them. What I tell myself is, you ask yourself the question, I wonder what my next thought will be. And by asking yourself this, you're kind of waiting for it. And your mind kind of goes blank, and you're like, what the hell? But it's great. So that's just a little tip. But yeah, 8 years ago, official diagnosis, and mindfulness has been a lifesaver.
A little bit about how I came to find these practices. In high school is when my anxiety really kicked in. It started in junior high, but it was just more of a phobia of flying, and that's kind of the only experience of panic attacks I had. And then in high school, they just started coming whenever they felt like it. And I considered dropping out of high school because I was just panicking all the time. I managed to get through it. I started university, went traveling, started university, still having these panic attacks all the time. And in one of my classes, a professor talked about mindfulness. He talked about the Davidson and Kabat-Zinn study that I mentioned at the beginning. And I was like, what is this? So I emailed him and I said, hey, do you need a teacher's assistant? And he was like, I don't know you at all. And I was like, no, I just it clicked, something about it clicked with me. And he took a chance and we started studying mindfulness together. I took a bunch of classes on it. I wrote my thesis on mindfulness and self-compassion and disordered eating specifically. And since I started practicing, I can do things. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing how these practices can have an impact on your life. I think now actually would be a good time, because we've all kind of mentioned meditation. I also meditate every single day, to do the exercise. We're actually going to do a short meditation if you're comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable, do not participate. That is totally fine. All that I ask is that nobody talks. Whether you're participating or not, please don't speak. It's going to be short, 5 minutes long, just so that you can kind of have a bit of a felt sense of what we're talking about here. Because now you have the information, you have our testimonies. Let's actually try it a little bit, okay? people. So I'm going to ask you to sit in a comfortable position. Your back straight, that's comfortable for you. Your feet on the floor, that's comfortable for you. It's actually amazing how nice it is on your neck to sit back up off your chair. Leaning on the back of your chair puts a lot of strain on your neck. So if that's okay for you, just sit up straight. Plant your feet, hands in your lap, whenever you're comfortable. And if you feel safe, if you feel okay, close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, that's fine. Just rest them kind of on the floor in front of you, soft focus. And I know that there's sounds in the room, I know that there's other panels going on, and that is totally fine. All we're going to do is come into the present moment. So we're going to come into our physical bodies. We're going to start with our feet. How are your feet feeling? Are they cold? Are they warm? Can you feel them at all? Let's all take a deep breath in. Just let it out. Now feel what it feels like for you to breathe. You can feel it in your nostrils, the air coming in and out. Some people feel it in their chest, as their chest rises and falls. Others may like to feel their belly, as their belly goes out and in. Deeper your breaths. We're not trying to change our breath. So we're not trying to breathe deeper. We're not trying to breathe slower. We're not trying to ignore the laughter in the other room. We're just feeling what it's like for you to breathe in this moment. What it's like for you to be here in this room, sitting with hundreds of other people, having this shared experience. Your mind's going to wander, and that's okay. Just bring it back to your breath. Feeling the inhale. The feeling as the inhale becomes the exhale, that little pause at the top. And then perhaps thinking, oh, here I am. This is what it feels like for me to breathe. There are sounds in the room. And that's okay because it's a part of the experience right now. Your nose, your chest, your stomach, wherever you feel the breath most. Inhale. Exhale. Cool. Great. Back to the show, folks. So that's a very simple meditation on the breath, and there are so many different kinds of meditation. That's a good question. Do you guys have a specific kind of meditation that you like, that works for you best? We don't have to go down the line every time. If you want to talk, just...
Well, like I said, I just use the but it's essentially the same sort of thing, like focusing on the point of the breath that you feel at the strongest. I always do it like right here, just like really slightly. And then just like if your mind wanders, then do not hold any judgment towards that. You might get angry at yourself, and I do that still. I'm like, God damn it, Debbie, just focus. But it's important to know that your mind is a brain, like it's a complex thing. Of course, it's going to wander, and you'll recognize that each time. Yeah.
It's built to wander. Your mind is built to look for danger. That's what it's built to do. That's another point about anxiety, about depression, about mental illness in general that kind of really helped me, was realizing that your brain and what it's doing, it's just trying to protect you. Whatever it's doing, whether you like it or not, it's trying to help. It's not trying to hurt you. And so even that can kind of help with softening toward whatever it is you're suffering with, I find.
I'd like to mention dynamic meditation. So we actually did some backstage before the panel, and did you all like it?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So it's just basically this person called Osho. He died in the 90s, but he talked about involving the body more in meditation too. So you can do sitting meditation, breathing, and dynamic meditation was we were just in the back again and just shaking out our limbs, going like this, like that. Just really grounding yourself in the present moment, stomping your feet, making it's hard to explain actually, but really just getting into the present moment using
It was like
the
this.
body. Yeah, please show it.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Someone record this. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, perfect. So I've been giving the 15-minute mark. I feel like this discussion has been too short, so I would like to ask you guys some questions that I get asked a lot, and I'm thinking hopefully that will cover some of the questions you guys might have. If we have time, we'll do the Q&A, but unfortunately this kind of started out a little bit late. So if that's okay with you guys, we're going to do I'll do frequently asked questions, and hopefully they'll get it. Okay. So first let's talk about anxiety, so specifically panic attacks. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share about how to deal with having a panic attack? I have the thing that's the first exercise up there called Soles of the Feet. I like to call it Where's Your Bum? Because a lot of the time I'm sitting when I have panic attacks. And it's essentially what we did at the beginning of the meditation. Tune into your feet. Your feet are so far away from your brain, and they're just physical. There's no emotion in your feet. So when I feel a panic attack coming on, or when I'm really nervous, like standing backstage waiting to come out here, I'm feeling my feet. Are they cold? Are they hot? Can I feel my toes? Can I feel each separate toe? Feel with your bum. What cheek are you sitting on more? Is it falling asleep? And just pulling yourself out of your mind and out of this can kind of pull you out of the panic attack also.
For me, sorry, Ashley.
Go for it, Stephen. Oh, yeah.
No, for me, breath exercises are my number one, as well as going out in nature. If I am in that state of anxiety, nature is like everything. If I meditate, sometimes I meditate and I'm like, I'm a tree. if I'm in nature or I meditate on water, and it's really helpful. I really love it. So that's what helps me a lot.
Something that my therapist says that frustrates me a lot is that mindfulness and therapy and all these things are not about getting rid of the bad feelings, about getting rid of the panic or the anger or the sadness, but it's about knowing that you will survive through them. And sitting in those feelings rather than repressing them or trying to distract yourself. So when I'm having a panic attack, she encourages me to close my eyes and say to myself, this is what it feels like to be panicking. I'm panicking. This is what it feels like. and I will make it through this, rather than I need to escape. I need to escape from these feelings. I need to find something to distract me. I'm so weird for feeling this panic in the first place. Just I'm feeling some anxiety. It's the reality, and I will make it through that. So that's kind of like a mantra that I repeat to myself when I'm having a panic attack.
I absolutely love that. My mantra is right now I'm okay. Right now.
Mantras are good.
Yeah. Okay, so one more about anxiety. Do you have any advice for not letting your anxiety control you, not letting your anxiety stop you from doing something that you want to do?
I suffer more with depressive episodes, so it's difficult for me to talk about anxiety, because although I get that feeling a lot, depressive episodes are the main thing that hold me back from doing things that I want to do. For example, last year I gave my tag to someone else because I didn't want to go to a party. But it's difficult because whatever happens, it's going to happen. I'm going to feel this way. Do I want to sit alone in my room and feel awful? Or do I want to surround myself with people I love and still feel awful? But then also sort of, find them. I don't know. It's about learning to be okay with it and sort of just accepting that it's going to happen.
No, that's great, because the theme of acceptance is kind of coming up here, and that's the non-judgmental piece of mindfulness. Whatever's happening is happening. Wherever you are, that's where you are. Or there's a quote that is, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, that's the book by
Gallagher. Yeah. An exercise or like a really tangible thing that I would suggest for whether it's anxiety or whether it's a depressive episode is chunking the day. So this is giving yourself the tiniest little task. If you're struggling to get out of bed, maybe let's say your big task is go to work. First thing, I just have to get out of bed. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to shower. I'm just going to get out of bed, and then I can go right back to bed. And then once you're out of bed, okay, I just have to take my pajama pants off. And once they're off, I can go back to bed. And you chunk the day in these tiny little pieces, and it's healthy mindfulness, right? Because it keeps you in the thing that you're doing instead of thinking, well, I have to my pajamas, and I have to cook breakfast, and I have to make a lunch, and I have to go to work, and work the traffic's bad, and then at work I have all this stuff, and what am I going to have for dinner? I'm going back to bed. So that's an exercise that I really like.
Yeah, I just want to add that, as we all know, it's so easy to be anxious. It's way easier to be anxious than it is not to be anxious. Like, it takes so much work. I'm feeling great right now, but I can make myself anxious just by thinking about stuff right now. Okay, what am I going to do after the panel? Okay, I don't really have anyone to eat lunch with. What am I going to do tonight? Am I going to drink? Am I going to ask Tony on a date? What's going to happen? So it's very easy to be anxious. So make it quick. One thing I do to just gain perspective is, it's weird, but it works. So we're at VidCon in Anaheim, California, North America, on planet Earth, in the middle of the universe, and we're just space dust. And you just literally take a step back, and it makes me feel so much better. It's not that you're not validating your feelings or anything, but it's just saying they're not as big as you're making them out to be.
And remembering that, like you said, recognizing everyone else's suffering and struggles as well. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not the only one whose head is going wild. It's like everyone is in the same boat.
And then, like Elena said, with chunking the day, this is totally stolen from Hannah Hart, but another thing that I do that makes me feel good is to-do lists. So if I will, I've gotten into bed and made breakfast. Rather than do it all the things.
She says it
I didn't say breakfast weird. But yeah, so if I do all these like silly like menial tasks, I'll still write them down and check them off because I'm a winner and I did them. And then it makes the rest of the day seem less intimidating.
Last frequently asked question I'd like to touch on is sleep. Because a lot of people, especially people who are struggling with mental illness, suffer with insomnia. How do you fall asleep? Ashley, Scott, you guys were talking about this before.
Yeah, I don't know.
Scott and I listen to Bob Ross. Do you listen to Bob Ross? ASMR videos. They're relaxing, and I need something to take my mind and literally like pull it into the present. And ASMR videos do that, and guided meditations do that, and Paparazzi is just like so relaxing. So yeah, I listen to things to go to bed.
Cool. So we have a couple of minutes left. So I actually would like to take a question. I saw your hand first. Tell it to me, I'll just tell it to me, I'll say it too.
Last night I told a poem about how it feels to like be in a world that is frustrating. Like when you
I watched it last week. Very poem.
It's a poem about like we live in this world that is always wanting us to be productive and always wanting us to like go, and like we're never given like if anything, we're told that we're lazy for taking time to be with ourselves, and we're told that we're stupid and that it's dumb. So how do you deal with that being told to you, and how do you come out of that? Because I find my anxiety to parts of episodes definitely come when I sense that's happening to me, and then I feel like I'm lazy, stupid, and worthless, and like crap.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah, no, not true at all.
There's
First of all.
no shame in
But-
taking time to look after yourself.
And again, back to science. I like science. This has been studied. Taking time for yourself increases your production. So when someone tells you you're being lazy, you could be like, actually, it's science.
Okay, so two pretty quick.
Thanks, Grace.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so I run a YouTube channel myself, and I feel like I could very much, I don't know, I think I could do a lot of good by sharing my own personal story, but it's also very, very intimidating. So how did you guys personally come to, being okay with being so open with the topic that is so personal? And then also, how do you deal with having panic attacks when you're in public? Because that's just something that's so difficult.
In answer to your first question, I am an oversharer. I like to tell everyone everything. Make friends today. Look around you, everyone is going through the same thing. I feel like we have a really lovely audience, and everyone, whenever we post a video about that, people support each other in the comments, and that's really lovely to see. So focus on things like having sex in public.
What am I experiencing right now? What do I need? Right? So, do I need to leave, or do I need to sit with my panic attack? What's going to be right for me, not right for everyone around me?
How do you particularly deal with, for me, I get really nervous being around people because I'm also claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not able to really, escape, make an exit when you need to, how do you deal with that?
Offer yourself kindness, right? Because that's hard, and it's not dumb, and it's not stupid, and it's not you overreacting. It's happening, and it's hard. So I offer myself ouch. Ouch.
Be vulnerable. So when I'm having a panic attack in public, the last thing I want to do is be vulnerable and tell someone. I just want to try to hold back my tears and not say anything, and then climb up and but I'll grab Grace's hand and I'll say I'm struggling right now, and then just knowing that now it's no longer a secret. Now I have a support system. So yeah, just be vulnerable and find at least one or two people to support you through.
Let's go to the back somewhere. We've got one way back there. You, yep, last one ahead.
Hi, so my question was how did you come to terms with your mental illness? Not saying oh, I'm being overdramatic, or I'm thinking about it too much, but really accepting this is what I'm feeling, and this is what's going on in my brain right now.
Practice. So much practice.
I still haven't really come to terms with it, honestly.
And that's okay. And that's okay too. Yeah, that's okay too.
It's important. I think whenever I'm feeling my worst, my brain will tell me that I'm never going to get better. And every time I feel bad, I'm just lying to myself because I'm like repressing everything and pushing everything down, and that's awful and disgusting. Don't listen to that side of your brain, that's not true. And although you may never be cured, like no one's ever happy all the time, you have to realize that no one is on top of the world constantly. It's okay to feel depressed, it's okay to feel anxious, it's okay to feel happy. These are just feelings. Try and remember that.
I'd like to make a note on what you said about that voice that comes in and says all these awful things. We like to call it the critical voice. So you've got the critical voice, which is the one we're all very used to. And then when you're trying to figure out how to stop the critical voice, how to have a loving voice, pretend you're giving advice to a friend. Sometimes it's hard to just turn right toward yourself and go, oh, well, Elena told me I should love myself, so done. It's harder than that. And so a way to kind of piece yourself into that can be to pretend you're giving advice to a friend in the same situation. And it kind of can sit there and... Oh yeah?
Big capital letters.
Cool. I think I'm getting a sign that we gotta wrap it up. Very quick. Sorry, very quick. We started late.
Is there a hashtag for this panel so that we can keep this discussion going?
Yes, Mindful VidCon.
Mindful VidCon.
Hashtag Mindful VidCon. Thank you very much. Together. Thank you all so much for being here.